This road connects nations, but it also divides cultures. This is the longest road in the world. At over 8,600 miles, it's longer than the entire Pacific Coast Highway and the Trans-Canada Highway combined. It passes through 12 countries and crosses over 30 major rivers. But it's not one continuous road. Instead, it's made up of a series of smaller roads that were once important trading routes. The idea for this super road came about in the 1920s, when a British explorer and writer named Peter Malkin set out to find a practical route between London and Tokyo. He wanted to drive, not fly, and he wanted to use existing roads as much as possible. After 5 years of planning, and with the help of the League of Nations, the result was the first international road to connect Europe and Asia. But there was a problem. The road wasn't built for cars. It was built for horses. And so the journey took 22 days. It was NT until 70 years later that a man named Jim Newton set out to drive the length of the world's longest road in a Land Rover. He wanted to get from London to Tokyo in under 70 days. And to do that, he needed to take a different route. He started his journey in England and drove east. He passed through France, Germany, and Austria into what was then called Yugoslavia. The people there had never seen a Land Rover before, and they stopped him for a whole day to examine it. Then it was on to Turkey, where he got stuck in a snowdrift for 3 days. With the help of some local farmers, he was able to continue on to Iran and then Afghanistan. It was there that Jim met 2 people who would change his life. They were a husband and wife team who had set out to map the entire road from London to Tokyo. They had already spent 3 years on the project, and they had all the information Jim needed to get to his next stop in Uzbekistan. From there, it was a short drive to Dushanbe, the capital of Tajikistan. From Dushanbe, Jim had to make a choice. He could either drive another 1,000 miles south through Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan to reach the Caspian Sea, or he could take a more northern route through Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan to reach Siberia. The southern route was shorter, but the northern route was easier to navigate because there were fewer unpaved roads. So that's the way Jim went. He drove through the mountains of Kyrgyzstan into Kazakhstan, and then across the Caspian Sea. In Russia, he visited the site of the world's largest truck stop, and then drove another 4,000 miles east to reach Ikko. There he learned that to get to Tokyo, he would have to drive another 5,500 miles. At this point, Jim had been driving for 70 days, and he had only 2 weeks left to complete his journey. To do that, he would have to drive through Mongolia, China, and North Korea before reaching Japan. And because of the political situation at the time, that meant that Jim had to get special permission to enter each of those countries. In Mongolia, he was able to drive right into the Gobi Desert and camp out under the stars. But in China, he had to stick mostly to paved roads. That made the journey take longer, but it gave him time to explore some of the country's amazing sights, like the Great Wall of China and the Forbidden City. After getting his visa for North Korea, Jim crossed the border and drove to Pyongyang, the capital city. There, he met a guide who would accompany him on the last leg of his journey to Tokyo. Together, they explored the city and then drove 500 miles east to reach the Japanese border. And that, my friends, is how Jim Newton became the first person to drive the length of the world's longest road. If you want to hear more crazy road stories, stay tuned.